Michael Ward, he's going to be our first speaker. He is the author of Who Swings Your Mop? This is a program in the book that inspired the Rockstar program that you're going to see today. He's been in the custodial industry for 30 years. He's been working as the director of custodial services in the public schools in both Ohio and Colorado. It was during this 30-year journey that he started as a freshman as a custodian. So this is kind of something that Mike and I got to talking. We have a very good relationship here because this is about the same time I started my custodial career, although I started a few years before him. I think we won't talk about that too much. Anyway, he's worked at all kinds of shifts, being an assistant. He's then worked up to a lead custodian. Along the way, he's been a union president, an area manager, a department head of 4 different public school systems. Now, all of this is leading him to his current position as a leadership role in the Adams 12 5-star schools. It's a public school district in western Colorado. They have over 55 buildings that he works with. His passion is helping custodians gain a positive outlook on their jobs and helping them grow in their careers. Mike holds a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with a focus on human resources management, and he has a professional human resources certification. Mike's credo: find the reason you can, not a reason you can't.
So thanks for having me a part of this, Dave. I appreciate you and everything you do to help promote the Rockstar program. It's great for custodians. Just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about why I wrote the book. I started out as a custodian, like Dave said, and right from the beginning, I started taking mental notes, thinking, this shouldn't be done this way. This could be done better. So, for example, I'd watch shift change meetings and how head custodians would talk to their crew and think, that's not how you should talk to people to build them up, and those kind of things. I'd watch custodians talk to principals and think, wow, that principal is controlling the custodian instead of the custodian controlling them because they weren't prepared. With lots of organizational problems, poor attitudes, custodians are territorial. I know none of you guys are territorial, but some people get that this is my area, and if I walk in your area and there's a piece of paper on the floor, I won't bother picking it up. And then the endless gossiping, it just drove me crazy, and I thought, this is just morale-killing, toxic behaviors. So I thought one day I'm going to do something about that, and as I moved up as a head custodian, I tried to implement those practices. I then became the union president, and I started dealing with a lot of discipline, and I started thinking, wow, these disciplines, half of these could be avoided if somebody would have trained these custodians how to deal with these situations. So I became the department leader, and I kind of created a leadership academy, and that's basically what that book comes from, Who Swings Your Mop. It's not about how to clean so much. There's a very little bit about cleaning. I have 2 other books about those kind of things, but it's more about how to be successful, like how do you deal with an angry parent. I remember I disciplined somebody for yelling at a parent, and I thought to myself, did anybody ever tell them how they're supposed to talk to a parent? And I thought, no, they didn't, because I remember when I started, nobody told me those things. And then people who move up, when they become head custodians, they sometimes their head just goes, whew, and they think they walk on water and they abuse power. And I thought it's about being power with instead of power over with people. And so I got a whole big section on that I talk about in the book, and just talking to people respectfully. And then I became the department manager, like I said, and then I started interviewing like every week, and over the years I've interviewed thousands of people. And I just usually think when they walk out the door, wow, you just really look bad, coming in there with a baseball hat, unprepared, not having a plan when you get asked those common questions like your organization skills for cleaning. A lot of them don't have a clue, and then they wonder why they didn't get the job. They think, well, I've been doing this for 20 years, so I deserve the job. Well, in today's society, that's not necessarily how it goes. So all these types of things and more led to the book. And actually my secretary, so I kind of ran into a few situations where I wasn't getting where I wanted to go. And I got my degree in human resources, and I could apply for a bunch of human resources jobs, but I'd never even get an interview because people looked at me as the king of the custodians because I'd been doing it for so many years, even though I knew a lot of HR stuff. So the reason I got my HR degree was to help people, whether that be custodians, secretaries, teachers, whoever I dealt with. So my secretary says, well, the Leadership Academy, you present it to everybody in the state once a year, business leaders in school districts, and we had a lot of success. So why don't you help people by writing the book? So that's kind of how it happened. But real quickly, one quick little story here, and this is kind of in the beginning of the book. I talk about Joey. This is back when I was a head custodian. Joey was a little tyrant. He was in second grade. That's a key point. Remember that, second grade. So Joey would always hang on the partitions, draw pencil marks down the hallways, kick the walls. I was constantly taking Joey to the office. And I got frustrated with the principal, and I finally shut the door and I said, Mr. Bob, well, I won't say his name, Mr. B, I said, hey, why don't you do something about this kid? This is ridiculous. And he said, you know what, Mike, I'm going to tell you something that I could probably get fired for. He said that Joey, second grade, usually the only meal he eats is here at school. The cooks try to give him a little bit of extra. I don't know if you noticed that, to take home. His mother, we're pretty sure, is into drugs. We know she's a prostitute. And really the only place he experiences love is here at the school, or not love, but attention is here at the school. And bad attention, sometimes better than no attention. So I stopped and thought right then, it kind of hit me. That was probably that moment that I thought, I'm not a rock star. I'm a problem. I've got a bad attitude. I think this kid's a little butthead, and I've got the wrong approach. So I kind of put everything together, and that's kind of where it all started from.
Well, Mike, there's always a start. There's always a reason. And, as we've talked to people all over the country, you and I, we usually find somebody that's standing up and having a voice. There's a reason. There's something in their background that started this. So what do you do now? How many people do you have currently that you're leading?
I have about 200 custodians, and I just started with this school district. I've been there, it'll be a year in February. It's a really great district, and it's really cool to come into a school district that don't really know these things, because it's exciting. It gets my juices going, because now I'm going to start, I'm already in the process of starting from the ground up, building that rock star school district. And my goal is always to make whatever district I'm representing the best in the country as far as the custodial standpoint goes.
So do you find that you start all over with people, or are people already there, or is this every time you change a school district, are you starting from ground zero again?
In most cases, yeah. I mean, the first thing I do when I go in is I look at the organization, and that's usually, you have a few schools usually that kind of got it together, but then you have a whole lot that don't. So I start with what I call the custodial reference book, and make sure that it's, all put together, the schedules, where everything's at, down to where the lights are, to where the asbestos book is. I mean, all that stuff. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I go into buildings and I can't find things. And so that's very, very important to start them with the base.
Okay.
You should be a traffic cop, Dave.
Yeah, you see the point, right? Okay. I think traffic was the issue this morning. We had a couple. I'm glad that everybody's fine. Thank you for. You had a kind of a drive this morning, yeah. So did Kathy, apparently. Is there any questions for Mike as to why he wrote the book, and any questions from the author of the book? I mean, we have him on live. Now's the time to ask. We have a viewer that's online, and it says, "Hey, Mike, do you see any difference between older and younger janitors wanting to be rock star custodians?"
Sometimes. Sometimes I kind of feel like the older ones are harder because they think I've been doing this for 20 years and they're just closed-minded sometimes. And it's like, wow. I mean, when I started out, I mean, there was barely auto scrubbers. I was hand mopping. So I try to tell those folks, you need to open up your mind because things are getting better. You know, and if you keep doing things the hard way, you're losing out. So the younger ones, I think the biggest thing I see is if somebody will pay you 50 cents more, they'll leave to the district across the street. But what they don't look at is, you know, opportunity and what that other district has to offer. I mean, it might pay 50 cents more, but it might not have the opportunities. It might have a horrible leader. They might, you know, there's lots of variables and, you know, so yeah, there are differences, but I try to keep myself from stereotyping people and giving everybody a fair shot. It's just like people will tell me when I go, so, well, you better watch this person. He's a such and such. And I just say, you know, thanks for that, but I'll make my own opinions, you know.
Anybody have anything else for Mike? Mike, I know that you've got a job to do, and I appreciate your time this morning and addressing the audience this morning.
Yep. So again, if anybody thinks of anything, feel free to email me, and I'll help you out any way I can.